What was I saying? Yes, good evening, hello, thank you very much for coming out. I fucking hate you all. Now then, have I just committed a hate crime?
Yes.
I did just tell you all I hated you. The profanity was just the icing on the cake, but I'll try and keep a cap on it from now on. But would any judge in the land really convict me of a hate crime for standing up in front of a group and saying, I hate you all? Not this group, obviously.
There is a coloured chat.
Because you guys have a sense of humor. You have a sense of humor and you're unlikely to complain. But if I got up at a feminist conference and said exactly the same thing, I may very well be charged with a hate crime. The crowd may very well carry me on their shoulders to the nearest police station, because that is what they do, instead of having a sense of humor. Now, does anyone think any of this is going to change if we make misandry a hate crime?
No.
All right. It wasn't entirely rhetorical. There might be some people out there who I still need to convince. So, hi, I'm Mike. I'm a screwball from the internet. I get paranoid and I worry about things. And with my help, you can worry about things too. Owls! That's off topic. So, gendered hatred and perceptions of gendered hatred in suburban dog parks. This isn't a rant out of the blue, as many of you know. It's quite topical. It was about a month ago when we learned that a mysterious body known as the Law Commission has decided to review the UK's hate crime laws to consider including not just women as victims of hate crime, but also men, and elderly people, and of course, goths. Yeah, I'm not making that up. Goths get in on the same floor as men. They're only just now starting to ask, since women and Muslims and all and whatnot have had this legal privilege for some time, how about we extend it to, teenagers who listen to The Cure? And why not left-handed people who enjoy spelunking? And like trainee teaching assistants who have trouble peeling an orange. And here's an even crazier idea. Men! Notice I called it a legal privilege and not a human right. I don't consider it, a basic human right to offer any plaintiff the chance to arbitrarily supersize their criminal charges if they feel like it. Because we're going to end up with a lot of people doing that. And it seems I share my concerns with some of the insufferable gimps who write for the mainstream media. Or at least I share them in part, in half, to be exact. Before I go on, I should point out, if X then Y is a very simple argument that I use quite a lot, whether or not I believe X is true or ethical. It's usually in the form of, imagine the genders switched. For instance, if males can be charged with raping females, then females can also be charged with raping males, especially underage ones. Thank you so very much. I say this, and I do think child rape should be a crime. But sometimes the if X then Y argument is hypothetical. Like if a man staring at a woman is a crime, then a woman staring at a man should be a crime. I say this, although I don't think staring should be a crime. But in both cases, the if then argument is there to remind people that they're being god-awful hypocrites yet again. So a few headlines for you, many of which you may remember. Jessica Eaton from The Guardian, quote, "Making misandry a hate crime will embolden abusive men," end quote. That's true. I can't deny to some degree that must be true. But guess what else is true? The gender switch, making misogyny a hate crime will embolden women like Suzanne Moore of The Guardian 2 weeks later to write articles like, quote, "I'd rather the police investigate a crime of misogyny than a burglary," end quote. Which I think in practice means, if two similar burglaries have occurred, the most important victim is whichever victim feels as though the burglar had misogynistic intentions. That's what misogyny is, remember. It's a special kind of hate crime. It relies on the telepathic abilities of the victim, thereby giving an unassailable advantage, not to women, but specifically to women who are deluded, self-important cluster B nutcases. That's right, making misogyny a hate crime has already emboldened abusive women to lie to the police, and get away with it. If either of these Guardian writers had any intellectual honesty under their scalps, they would realize that what they are making are good arguments to abolish hate crime laws, including the ones regarding misogyny, because the potential for abuse of these laws is far worse than the problems they purport to address. But this is all completely invisible to the likes of Ms. Eaton and Ms. Moore, because everyone knows women didn't do nothing and can't do nothing, not ever, not never, not know how. Whereas men are cheaters and sinners and liars who break everything and spoil everything and do everything that's bad. But don't worry, ladies. You can say this bold as brass in a national newspaper and no one will charge you with misandry. Because that's not misandry, is it? It's feminism. which is this other thing. It's a different thing. Does anyone think any of this is going to change if we make misandry a hate crime? Has anyone noticed that nothing counts as misandry, no matter how publicly or brazenly hatefully it is said? A woman can come right out and say, I glassed that man in the face because men are bastards who all deserve to be killed. And the verdict will be, wow, wow. She's got a point, doesn't she? Men are bastards, and they're probably not. And it's obviously a joke that's completely true after all. Don't be telling me that these people are not perfectly capable of these mental gymnastics. They are, and they enjoy it. Speaking of which, Victoria Smith of The Independent, quote, the fact that we're considering making misandry a hate crime should concern anyone who believes in equality. End quote. So you're not including Jessica Eaton or Suzanne Moore there. They don't believe in equality, they believe in male inferiority. They have demonstrated it as I have demonstrated. Or is the phrase, anyone who believes in equality, just your dog-whistling translation of anyone who is on my team regarding which gender is more equal? Subheading of the article, you're going to love this. Quote, it seems there's nothing women can have, not even their status as a marginalized sex class, that men will not expect them to share. End quote. Good little communists, aren't they? Good little socialist justice warriors who are all about sharing this world equally until someone suggests that women should share with men. And then it's, that's not what we meant. When we said everyone should share, what we meant is men should share everything they own with women. The end! Yeah, that is what most socialists actually believe when you challenge them. Their idea of utopia is a place where women get to say, what's mine is mine, what's yours is ours, honey. And the law will only reinforce this. And they keep pushing blindly for this utopia because they don't realize we are already living in it. And have been for many centuries. Maybe that's why socialism keeps failing. Everything fails if you put it under the charge of bigoted lunatics who are always nursing a mouthful of their own farts, do you see? And it's quite an insight into the mindset, isn't it? The idea that one's status as a marginalized class is something that any sane person would want to keep to themselves. You don't get to play the role of victim. Men, you don't get to play the role of epic loser. That's women's work. That's not my opinion, folks. It's the evident opinion of the kind of people who write in the mainstream media with total impunity. So why does anyone trust the powers that be to enforce anything resembling anti-sexism laws with anything resembling fair play? Nonsense, my friends, nonsense. They could make it illegal on pain of death to commit hatred against a man, but they still will not charge any women with it. Just like they can make all kinds of racism technically illegal, but they will not prosecute anyone for the anti-white kind. They could even make circumcision illegal, yet carry on letting physicians illegally perform it and never arresting a soul. Arguably, this is already the case. And in any case, if you're going to make misandry a hate crime while still neglecting to recognize male genital mutilation as a thing, let alone a crime, let alone a hate crime, then I'm going to get the acute sense that your heart's not really in it. Bruv, sis, comrade, whatever. I can see where this is going. It's not about protecting the innocent at all. It's about persecuting whoever you feel like persecuting. Does anyone think kicking a man in the testicles will be treated as a hate crime? Of course not. Not if it's a man we don't like. But kicking a left-wing progressive man in the testicles, well, looky here. We suddenly feel like enforcing a hate crime. Does anyone think harassing a man and his family and his workplace until he's fired and ruined and penniless and dead will be treated as a hate crime? No. But saying a rude word to a Labour cabinet minister who happens to be a man, you done goofed. That's a hate crime we can be bothered enforcing this afternoon. Does anyone think tweeting "kill all men" will be treated as a hate crime? Yes, but only when a man does it as a joke. That's real hatred. If a woman says it and she's dead serious, that's just an expression of frustration, and it's perfectly understandable. Does anyone think falsely accusing a man of violence or sexual misconduct will ever be treated as a hate crime, enforced for the benefit of someone like me or someone like you or anyone who needs it? No. But it might get used to get Michael Avenatti off the hook. She was a misandrist after all. It might be used to make excuses for Jim Acosta's latest buffoonery. That woman who manhandled him was a misandrist after all. They might even use it to free any given pro-choice douchebag who goes around kicking pro-life women in the tits. After all, pro-life women are misandrists. Why not, eh? Those are good men, you see, useful allies. That is, until the day any of them steps off the plantation and says anything that can be interpreted as anti-feminism, and then wallop, they're down here with the rest of us in their corner shop bargain bin of second-class citizens. If for one moment you believe that making more rules, more laws, more regulations is a step in the right direction, then you have not been paying attention. I think I can see where you might be coming from. Either you're thinking, at least it counts as equality to have misogyny and misandry on the books together. Or you might be thinking, if we introduce misandry laws, then at least people will start realizing how insane the whole idea is, and they'll take both of them off the books. No, they won't. They will never realize how insane it is to have misogyny laws in the first place, because their whole world, their whole system of belonging is made of misogynistic castles in the sky, infested with magical arachnoid wage gaps and dripping with rape. They cannot function without it. But they will continue to consider misandry to be a myth and a joke and an absurd conspiracy theory that would be insane to even think of enforcing, even if it is officially a crime. If we want this to get better, there is only one right direction we can step in, and it is back the way we came. We need these hate crime laws off the books and these hate speech laws off the books, because we must not ban speech and we cannot read minds. And if this is going to happen, it won't be because of the current administration or even the current populace. It will be despite it. They have no brakes and they cannot go in reverse. So it's going to take at least a generation to fix this. Sorry, we're planting trees in whose shade we shall not sit. I hope I'm not the first to break it to you. Anyway, you have my opinion. Hopefully at least some of you already agreed and the rest of you are in a position to change your mind. Anything else would be boring and or perturbing. I know this talk didn't have much in the way of men or awesome, but I'm not in the mood this year. Bollocks to it. There's business to attend to. Messy business with weird chunks of machinery lodged in its exposed offal. All right, thanks for coming out, folks. Late November is never a good time to be doing anything, but hey, you get what you're given. And we'll be back next year, probably. So drive carefully, drink responsibly, and don't let the bastards grind you down in that order. See you tomorrow.